All right, guys, I finally figured out a workflow that's similar to FL Studio, which is how to sample inside of Logic Pro. So let's hop straight into it. So firstly, what we're going to do is we need a sample, but let's open up a new software instrument here. Click open the, what is this called? The inspector panel, and click the drop down. We're going to go to where it says sampler, and then go to where it says quick sampler. So in here, we could drag our samples in here. So I have a sample, and you guys could do optimized. I did optimize before, but it does take some time. So let's just drag it here. Now this time it didn't take as long. We're going to go to the slice tab because we want to play in slices. Now here's something that you probably didn't know. By default, it's going to slice by the transient. What I want it to do is actually slice by equal divisions, and then we could change the slices. So this helps me to quickly find slices throughout the track without overly thinking about stuff. So let's just up this to 32. And now okay. I'm glad that happened. So you guys see how it just kind of played out to the end. What we can do is turn on the gate mode. This will help us truncate the notes so that it doesn't just overlap like that. Now the next step we need to do is actually click this DNA, because this will basically time stretch the slices to the actual BPM. So this little icon here is called Flex Tune, I believe. And we can click on follow tempo, and we also don't want it to be at 140. So let's go here. Let's go to half. I want it to play at 70 BPM. Okay, so here's an example of what you guys can create from that technique. Okay, so it's the same concept here. I might have moved some markers around. But I don't think I moved anything. The only thing I did was I added a filter and some drive and then changed the pitch. And it creates that sound. So that's, how, and also there's manual mode. I think manual mode I might have moved something around. I don't know what I pressed, but that is the process. Now, you guys can also do it the old fashioned way, which is to like visually see the sample. This is probably better for if you guys plan to loop your samples. So I'd recommend this not for chop producers, but for more loop based. So let's just drag this in as an audio clip this time, an audio track, and let it render or whatever. I just doubled it up because I thought it wasn't doing nothing. Okay. So now we're going to I'd recommend you guys really get into the stem splitter. But before we even get into the stem splitter conversation, we need to actually find a loop in the actual music. So let's learn how to count music first before we think about looping. So let's find the part where we have the harmony here. Let's take off the loop. So I like the funny how time flies. That's kind of like the hook to the song. So let's find where is the downbeat. 1, 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I got to get used to zooming in and out here. Okay, so let's move this thing. It's right there. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Okay, so you got to get used to zooming in and out. This is something I got to get used to, the difference between FL and this. But grab the playhead here, hit Command T, and it should chop it up. Okay, so that's the way I do it at least. There probably is a faster way. But let's count the music out. Let's move this back so it's easier to see. Let's go all the way back. Boom. And now let's start counting the music without the metronome. 1. Whoops. 1. Why is it playing from over here? 1. Why the heck? Okay, what the freaky is going on? Let's pause the video till I figure this out. All right, so I just had to manually drag the playhead. Not sure why I just kept looping. Anyway, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and chop. Okay, so I'm sure again there's a faster way to chop on the fly, but I do it with the playhead and I hit Command T. So we have 2 bars looped. So this way is a little bit more old fashioned. This is really based on if you are a loop producer or if you want to chop up your loops or samples, I should say. Now what we need to do is time stretch it to the BPM. So what we're going to do is put on the DNA icon here, which stands for the flex tune. Let's hit Alt or Option on the keyboard and then left click and drag this to be 2 bars, or in this case 4 bars because we're at 140 BPM. So if we turn the metronome on it should lock in. So we have one problem here is that if I turn my drums back on, It's not really a problem, but one thing I want to do is remove the drums for certain parts. So let's hit Command R so we could do, actually, should we do Command R here? Let me think. Let's do it later. So let's right click here. Let's go to where it says processing. I learned this from Bolo the producer. Go to stem splitter. Now this thing is pure magic. I have no idea how this works, but it's insanity. So let's hit apply. Depending on how long the sample is, it should take longer or less time. Now what we're going to do is just get rid of the stuff we don't need or the stuff we don't want. So in this case, if I want to duplicate this, I have to duplicate all of these files. That's why I was debating if I want to duplicate it now as one file or all these files. Long story short, highlight all these, hit Command R to duplicate. Okay, so let's say on the second half, I don't want the drums. I can literally just click the drums, hit shift, left click, and then hit delete. So now the drums from the sample won't conflict with my drums. And we do lose some texture, but we gain a lot of clarity in our drums. Let's compare this. Let's compare this to the original here. Has that same vibe. So that's so crazy to me how Logic Pro cracked the code on stem splitting. Now this is like beyond all stem splitters I've ever heard on the market, and that's why I'm so excited to actually sample again and just produce in Logic Pro. And now we can separate the sound because the sounds are separate. Now we can literally add different effects that were not even in the original song. So let's mess with the vocals here. Let's open up the inspector button or inspector tool. And let's add some like weird phasey delay to the vocals that never existed on the original. And now we have like this trippy vocal that matches our BPM. And one thing I recommend you guys turn on is called Flex Tune. So I think Flex Tune is turned on for every audio clip. So if we change the BPM, like if we want to up the BPM, so you see how I just changed the audio, I think we have to go to each. I'm sure there's a faster way to do it. Okay, so on the left side here, we have to turn on this little DNA button. This is Flex Tune. This is equivalent to turning on stretch mode in FL Studio. The reason we need to do this is because if I change the BPM, I don't want the audio to move around like it just did. So now let's just up the BPM. Let's say you want to try out different vibes. And now we got an upbeat version of the same beat. So the only thing I didn't cover here is how to do your own drums. So I assume you guys came here trying to do the entire beat, not just like the sample part. So far we have the sample down, but let's do our drums here. So let's go to our browser and have this open, and we're going to right click, go to a new software instrument. Make sure the inspector tool is turned on so you can mess with the plugins. Go over here, go to Drum Machine Designer. And here we can drag drums onto the pads of this plugin, similar to FBC and FL Studio. So let's just drag some kind of go-to drums here. You guys can get my go-to drums for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. So what we're going to do is just drag that kick right on a pad. Let's do a snare next. And then the hi-hat. Drag it onto a pad. Now, if you're old school, you can record it with your MIDI controller. So I could trigger these with my MIDI controller and just record that way. But, you know, modern producers who are coming from FL Studio, most of the time don't have MIDI controllers. So I'll show you guys how to create drum patterns without a MIDI controller. So close out the browser here. Let's go to the edit tool. And this pulls up what's called the piano roll for your drum kit. and we're going to go to where it says step sequencer. This is equivalent to the channel rack in FL Studio. I think I have to move my head for a second here. Okay, so in the top right of the step sequencer, we could switch this to 32 steps. This is a good starting point. I recommend for you guys 32 steps. And now we could just draw in the pattern. So first thing I want to do is draw in the snare. So let's do this. And we're gonna turn the metronome on so we can count, and then add the snare on the 3 and the 7 count. So these represent beats, these vertical little columns here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in trap music, we put that snare on the 3 and the 7 count. Okay, so let's figure out a way to do some hi-hats here. Now, a cool thing about hi-hats is that you can hit, I believe it's Command and Alt to change the length of a note in real time. So I could just hold Command and Alt to make it long notes, short notes. But for the hi-hat, I want just a note that's like this. And then you could hit Command R to copy and paste it all the way through. So now we have basically filled each 2 steps hi-hats like FL Studio, just like that. And now we can go in and add our kick. Boom, 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 boom. So let's say you want to, crank your drums up like you do in FL. Just go to the drop down here and then go to where it says velocity. Just hit the up arrow. This will turn all the kicks up, for example. So let's say you want to push your kicks. Let's turn the metronome off. So now the kicks are hitting at the highest velocity. Let's say you want to turn up your snare. You do the same thing. You can turn down the snare, turn it up. So this is similar to the Fruity pre-computed effects, the boost knob, in a way. Now let's say you want to offset the hi-hats for more of a groove. You can click the drop down on the left side of your hi-hats, switch one of these values, like the note value, to offset. This represents note timing offset, and we're just going to turn this up. So the more you turn it up, the more it's going to delay the note, basically. So I'll exaggerate so you guys can really, really hear it. So I'm going to push this up to like, oh, you can left click and hold too. That's so much faster. So here that hi-hat sounds super delayed. So we can left click and pull this like to 10%. Let's do less than 10%. It just adds a small delay to the hi-hat to where it's not going to hit right on the grid and sound super robotic. You can do the same thing for your kicks and snares too. I recommend, because we're not going to mess with the note value, I recommend you guys just change the note or the octave parameter here to offset, because we're rarely going to use notes on a kick in hip hop. And now you guys got a beat. Now what I recommend to make the drums really hit is turn your inspector on, go to audio effects. Let's open up a compressor. So we're not going to compress it. We're going to turn the compressor off with the threshold up, ratio all the way down. We're going to use what's called the soft clip distortion here, and then drive the input gain to push it even harder. That's how you get that knock. And then we're going to add an EQ here and boost up the low end here to give it that final like FL, that punch, that knock, I should say. So we made a sample beat. If I wasn't explaining it, once you guys get this like workflow down, you could literally make sample beats in like minutes. And it's fun. It's not fun. It's super fun. You have so much control with the stems. So I'm gonna let this rock for a second. Now we have a unique vibe that you can't get even from the sample, because again, that stem splitter is so good. It's like having the multi-tracks from the actual session, which is crazy to think that we have that much access. The last thing I'm going to do here is just add an instrument, play from my keyboard here. If I could figure out which one is the actual, let me see, this might not even be loaded up. So never mind. I was going to add some instruments here, but there we go. Now it's loaded up. So let's add our own instruments just to kind of finalize this beat, just to show you guys how easy it is to make beats. And again, it's not easy to where it's boring. It's easy like, wow, I can really make fire beats really simply and straightforward. All right, so I added that little R&B. Let's add some sounds from the Moog. Let me see if this is even the Moog. That's not the Moog. What am I saying? Input 2 is the Moog. All right, so this is a vibe. I normally would not get this vibe through FL. Let's see what we can find from the Moog, if anything. Not gonna force it, but let's see where. Let's add that. That's a vibe. Man, this is such a vibe to make beats in here. You guys will get the project files for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. Man, such a vibe. So, and then we can quickly just add effects to that. Let's add that same like tape effect. Let's give it some nice reverb too, so it's not as bitey. I'm loving the Quantec Room Simulator. Really fire reverb. That way, that super 90s vibe. If I wanted to arrange this, I'll just copy this entire section, I'll call it. Hit Control R or Command R. I keep calling it Control because FL Gang on PC. And now we're just going to take out the part of the song. Boom. Just like that. Now here's that final touch. Logic sounds so good when you just clip the sound. I'm not sure how to retain how aggressive it sounds without going in, plus 0, but it sounds so good clipped. I forgot to mention in FL, it's a little bit different. In Logic, basically all these little drum patterns are basically considered different things, where in FL Studio, these would be considered the same thing. So if you wanted to make small changes like right here, where we have these two, we can go in and maybe take out some of the kicks. Just kind of let the hi-hats and snares hit. Now there may be a way to treat those as the same pattern, but I'm not sure how to do it. So I'm sure there's a way though. Let's add like a stronger bass line. I don't know why we're making a full beat, but we're making a full beat today. Let's see if we can find a strong bass from the Moog. right, so we can spend more time on the bass, but all right, so in this video, you guys learned how to sample. If you drag and drop your sample in, you learn how to sample in the chop style. You learn how to do the stem extractions, which is what we did today, and the Flex Tune feature. So subscribe if you're new. Go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. I'll leave a link below for the project files. Peace out, guys.